I think it's about time I go and do some bookshop and charity shopping, and you, my lucky friend, get to come with. I haven't been in so long, and it's something I always look forward to doing, so this is going to be really nice. It's something I've been doing for years, and it's something I look forward to every single week. Also got this jacket from Primark, and oh my god, I am so obsessed. Plan of action is to just do a lap of my usual shops and maybe even grab a coffee and do some reading along the way. Hopefully we can find some stuff, but if not, it's not a problem. I do have plenty of books to read in the meantime, but it's just something to do. So let's get going. Is it me, or did October just not October the way October should have Octobered? I don't know how to explain it, but it just didn't feel as autumnal as I wanted it to. I felt like other than the last couple of days, it's still been quite sunny and quite warm. Where's the rain? Where's the doom and gloom? I want the cozy vibes, you know? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but either way, maybe November will help with the cozy vibes instead. Sadly, wasn't able to find any books in charity shops this week. One shop was actually closed down for good, which took me by surprise, and another one was actually closed. Not for good, but for some reason it just wasn't open that day, which was a bit strange. But yeah, I didn't have much luck this week, but hopefully next time we go, there'll be something that I can show and tell for when I come back. But I did do 2 bookish events this month, which were so fun, so I'm really excited to talk about those. And of course, I have my reading wrap up to do as always, which is going to be completely spoiler free. So get comfy, get cozy, and let me take you through some bookish updates. So one really exciting thing that I got to do was I got to go and meet an online bookish friend, and this is the first time I have ever done this, so it was really, really good fun. And that person was the lovely Fiorella. If you are not following Fiorella on BookTok, what are you doing? Jokes aside, she is honestly the loveliest person. She's so funny and so kind and sweet. So if you don't follow her, please do. Her videos always make my day. She's really funny and her videos always put a smile on my face. So yeah, please go and check her out. It's really funny how we actually ended up meeting. So it turns out we went to a bookish event together, but we just didn't know that we were there. And I saw her post a video of the event and I messaged her like, oh my god, I can't believe you went, because I went too. And we were both really gutted because we both said we could have met each other and we weren't able to. We ended up putting a date in the diary and said, right, let's meet up, let's do it. Let's actually finally get to meet each other. And that's exactly what we did. It's so wholesome because this is exactly why I did this in the first place and joined BookTube and BookTok. It's because I want to make friends with people who has the same passion as me. We had such a wholesome day. We went for coffee, we went browsing for books, we went on some nice walks, went for food, got to know each other. It was just a really, really lovely day. I made a video on it for TikTok, but I didn't make one for YouTube. It's sometimes really difficult because when you're filming for both TikTok and YouTube at the same time, I kind of have to film one thing like this, like vertically, and then another one horizontally. Trying to remember to do that, sometimes it does just slip my mind. Where I was just enjoying the moment so much and just being with her and chilling and talking, I wasn't really going on my phone and recording anything. So I sadly didn't get any footage for YouTube, but like I said, it is on TikTok if you want to go and check it out. Another really lovely bookish event, which you would have seen at the beginning of the video, is I went to a bookish sleepover. Although I say bookish sleepover, we didn't actually get any reading done. Back in around, I think it was about May or June time, me and a friend, we decided to join a book club. We ended up becoming good friends with some of the girls there, and we kind of ended up always sitting with them and forming like a little group. We all just started getting on really well. We started going for food and coffee and stuff after book club so we could hang around and get to know each other a bit more. And we've basically all been really good friends ever since. And it was two of the girls' birthdays, so we kind of did a joint birthday and we hired out a B&B for the night. We thought it would just be really fun to take some books and chill out, chat, have some drinks, have some board games. It was a really, really good night. We did like a big buffet for food and oh my gosh, it was so good. I hate way too much. Costco mac and cheese, by the way. Oh, so good. We did also do a hear me out cake as well. Oh my gosh, it was so questionable. And the house that we stayed in as well, oh my God, it was so pretty. It's one of those houses that look absolutely tiny from the outside. And when you're looking at it, you're like, how the hell does that house fit 4 bedrooms? But when you go inside, it is absolutely huge. Really funny and really chilled, and also some chaotic moments that night, but it was really good fun. And it was really nice again to just kind of be reminded that that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for books and making bookish friends. So yeah, it's just really wholesome when you are able to do these type of things. I definitely recommend, if it's something that you are comfortable with, going to book clubs and even checking if maybe independent bookstores nearby or even some of the bigger bookshops do book groups, because honestly, I have made so many incredible friends because of joining book groups and also because of Book Talk and BookTube. It really is such a wholesome thing to think about, and it probably sounds really cringy, but it is genuinely so meaningful because it's just so nice. Something else that I did this month, which I'm actually really proud of, was I baked some cinnamon buns. I'm someone who always has something set in mind that I want to do, but I don't always necessarily do it because my motivation can really suck sometimes. But I gave it a go and they actually turned out so well. It was really stressful because I haven't really made anything dough-wise in my life, but it was very much one of those trust the process things, and it actually turned out to be really, really good and they tasted delish. But I'm glad I did because it was kind of one of those autumnal things on my little bucket list for the month that I really wanted to do, and Ash gave me a hand with them and we had really good fun together. So yeah, that was something else that I did as well. I would say I'll give them a go next year, but I'll update you on whether I actually do next year. Also got my hair cut this month, although to be honest, probably can't tell because it has always been quite long. In terms of the books that I read this month, I'm actually quite surprised, only because it felt like I didn't really read this much, but actually I read 4 books. Well, technically 3 because one of them I finished just going into October, but either way I'm still going to count it because I haven't actually spoken about that book yet. And that book is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This was actually my most anticipated read of the year. I can't put into words how excited I was to finally get this book in my hands. I actually had the most amazing experience of meeting Rebecca Ross in her tour back in September. I honestly couldn't believe I got to meet her. She's literally the author of my all-time favorite book, which is Divine Rivals. Meeting your favorite author or meeting someone who has changed your life is honestly, it's so wholesome. She was so lovely, and I also showed her my Divine Rivals tattoo as well that my best friend designed for me, and she absolutely loved it. And yeah, she's just such a lovely person, and she's just got such a kind of motherly presence about her. Like, she's so kind and so caring. I actually got to ask her a question during the Q&A, and I asked her if there has been any progression on the movie. She said that the script was almost done, which was really, really exciting. And I also asked if she had any actors in mind. She said she didn't particularly have anyone in mind, but she said it would be really nice if she can try and get some maybe upcoming actors who want that breakthrough. So if you're an actor watching this, keep your eyes peeled. I would absolutely love to act as Iris. I did do drama back in GCSE. I actually did really well. And acting was actually something I did always want to go into, but I just couldn't because I didn't really have anything around me at the time. And obviously I was young, I didn't really know what to look out for. Imagine being able to act as like my all-time favorite character in the entire world. Oh my gosh, that'd be such a dream come true. So Wild Reverence is an adult romantasy. It is set in the same world as the duology Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, but it's 600 years before those events. You don't need to read these books in any particular order. Rebecca even confirmed herself you can literally read these however you want to. But if, like me, and you have read the duology, there are going to be kind of names and locations that you will pick up on and are kind of like Easter eggs as you go through the book. It's a dual POV and it follows our main characters Vincent and Matilda. There's 3 realms. There's the Skyward realm, the Mortal realm, and then there is the Underling realm. Vincent is from the Mortal world, and then we have our goddess Matilda, and she is an Underling. Each god possesses a different power. Matilda's a message bearer, and she essentially has to travel between the realms to well, deliver messages. And when Vincent was younger, he would always have these nightmares, but someone would always appear in his dreams and help him. And that person was Matilda. So he kind of ends up falling in love with her because she is helping him through these really difficult times consistently as he's growing older. And then when he's older, he realizes he really wants to find out who this person is, and he always refers to her as Red because of her hair. There are lots of different things going on throughout this story, but the main concept is that Matilda is trying to find out particular things, which I'll let you find out for yourself. But then there is also a battle that's going to break out in the mortal realm as well, and Vincent really wants Matilda's help. Vincent ends up kind of becoming owner of a kingdom as it's passed to him, but his uncle believes that it should have been passed to him and it's rightfully his. But his uncle gives Vincent 3 days to hand over what is supposedly rightfully his. Otherwise, he's gonna send in his army to, well, claim it. Matilda does offer to help, but she does have like 101 different things going on. And let's just say she is a really good multitasker. In this story, you're finding things out about Matilda and more about the gods, and there is so much world building and so much history that is given to you. Then, of course, there's also this battle going now between Vincent and things going on in the mortal realm. So yeah, lots of juicy stuff. One thing I really enjoyed about reading this book is just how much backstory that you do get. As someone who is absolutely obsessed with the world of Divine Rivals and Rufus Files, getting to know more about the gods and just how many gods Rebecca has created in itself is just absolutely insane. The way that it all comes together, how everything works, the constellations, all that sort of stuff, it's just so good. Rebecca's writing as well is honestly just some of the most beautiful writing that you can read. She could honestly take a wooden spoon and make it sound like the most ethereal thing. She just has such a way with words. I did find the pacing in this book a little bit off, which I will get to in just a minute, but I think the reason why I carried on reading it despite it being quite slow and maybe taking about 60% of the way through the book to actually, you know, get things kicking off, but because her writing is so beautiful and because of how in depth it went and because of how interesting it still was, that's why I kept reading. Normally, if a book takes too long to kick in, I will just DNF it, especially when it's a standalone like this one. But because of all those reasons, that is why I kept reading. And my gosh, the second half of the book really did pay off. When you find out more about Matilda, oh my gosh. Vincent, despite being just a guy, there's something about him that I really like. And I think it's his loyalty and kind of devotion to Matilda. He's just someone who genuinely sees Matilda as someone who has helped him through really difficult times in his life, and now he actually gets to see her and be around her. He therefore, well, he wants her. And it's very much like it's Matilda and Matilda only. And I just think that's really, really sweet. And Matilda as well, she's just got such a kind of beautiful essence about her. Getting to know all the other gods as well was really good fun. Really enjoyed all the characters in this book. I will say though that there were a few things that didn't feel too right to me. I was thinking about actually doing a separate video on this and talking about my really in-depth thoughts and feelings of this book. Like I said, because it was my most anticipated read, I'm really curious to see whether anyone else has similar opinions. A couple of these are going to be really difficult to explain without spoiling anything, but I will talk about the ones that I can. Because Matilda is constantly in and out of different realms and doing different things, it just feels like she's a bit here, there and everywhere. She's never really in one place for a long period of time. And I think because of that, in my opinion, it made me feel like the romance wasn't always there. I'm not saying it wasn't there at all, but I think with books like Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, I don't know whether it's unintentionally set my expectations of romance quite high, but the romance in those books was just amazing. But in this book, like I said, because she's kind of here, there and everywhere and she can't keep in contact with Vincent while she's off doing her things, it just feels like at points I'm like, oh, well, never mind. There is also one point in the story that is very crucial, and essentially our characters have been apart for, let's just say, quite some time. And I was waiting for that reunion moment. And let's just say it just made me feel really strange. Let me set the scene for you. Vincent is waiting for Matilda to come back. Matilda knocks on the door. And you'd think that when he opens that door, there'd be a really big hug or maybe a cheeky snog. And when I tell you that he opens the door and says something like, "You must be hungry. Would you like some soup?" What? I felt like that moment was going to be so special and it just made me go, huh? I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if I'm being too picky here, but yeah, it it didn't seem right. There were also a couple of other things that weren't problems at all, but I wish were maybe elaborated on a little bit more, but I can't really explain those without spoilers. I think I will make a video on this because it is something that I want to talk about and I would love to discuss with other people. The second book that I finished the month of October was Blood of Hercules. If you're looking for a dark fantasy which features gods and is also about proving your worth and training and going into an academy and all that sort of stuff, then this is a book that might be for you. This is a genre that I wouldn't normally pick up and read, but because it was actually my book club's pick of the month, that's why I decided to give it a go. Follows our main character called Alexis Hart, and I believe she's 19. One thing that took me by a huge surprise about this book is it's actually set in the future. It's not ancient times. So you've got all of these ancient gods and creatures roaming around in the future, but it's a really interesting concept. I actually really enjoyed that part. So Alexis ends up having to prove her worth and her immortality in order to essentially prove herself to Zeus. She ends up being thrown into this small trial, and then she ends up having to go to an academy in order to learn and keep building up strength and training and all that sort of stuff. And while she's attending this academy, she has mentors. She has Patro and Achilles. So basically just bully her the whole time that she's there. And it's not just them, the professors bully her too. In fact, pretty much everyone but I think 2 people bully her. But she doesn't really understand why she's there because she has no powers. So did I read the same book as everybody else? This is hands down the funniest book I have ever read in my time of reading. Our character just has such unhinged thoughts and she's just such a vibe. But unfortunately for me, the humor in this book is pretty much the only thing that I kind of enjoyed. Don't get me wrong, I found it really good about learning about powers and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of like the whole story, I really couldn't point to you much that I really enjoyed. There just wasn't much going on. I read this on my Kindle and I kid you not, I think I was at 70% and she was kind of still learning and training at this academy, and it just started becoming very repetitive. It was more just thoughts in a monologue, kind of day-to-day life as a poor, unfortunate 19-year-old being bullied by pretty much everyone in her class, her professors and her mentors. Pretty much the only thing I enjoyed in this book was the main character and the humor. Everything else it was really flat for me. And where it was like 400 or something pages as well, I was just like, it just didn't feel like it needed to be that long. The gods also irritated me a lot as well. Patro and Achilles, don't get me started. Well, actually, Achilles is fine. It was Patro. He just bullied our character pretty much the entire time, saying that she's lame and she's useless and all this different stuff. And then something happens at the end and all of a sudden he has a change of thought and I'm just like, what? Just get over yourself. I also personally didn't really find the academy that interesting as well. There was one part of the academy that I did enjoy, but everything else, the kind of running circuits, the learning from the professors who, like I said, were just bullies anyway. We're not getting anything from this really. Like, it took such a long time for things to move forward. I don't know, it just didn't work out for me. Did pretty well on the bookish quiz though, so at least it was good for something. Going into my third book, I read I Who Have Never Known Men, and this is a literary fiction. My best friend has recommended it to me so much. If you're looking for a book that is about a group of women being captured and then being able to escape, and it's all about survival, and it's kind of got a lot of unknown answers but in a really interesting and kind of philosophical way, then I definitely recommend reading this book. It follows the story of 40 women who are trapped in a cage underground. One of them is a child when she is first put into this cage. We follow her as, I believe, a teenager. The whole thing is being guarded, and all of a sudden one day the alarm goes off, the gate opens and all the guards disappear. The women are literally able to get out. They have no idea where they are. They've been in an underground bunker. They don't even know if they're on planet Earth. And all of a sudden they're left alone and they're having to learn to survive and fend for themselves. And the whole story follows these group of women helping one another and traveling this so-called world, whether it's Earth or someplace else, to figure out what the heck is going on. I absolutely love these type of books because they really do keep you on edge. This sort of book almost had a thriller aspect to it. It was such an easy and interesting read, and I think it's one of those books that I think everyone should read. One thing I will say though is this book unfortunately didn't hit the spot the way I thought it was going to, and I honestly think it's because this is very similar to a book I read not too long ago called The Butterfly Garden, and this one is a thriller. It's a similar concept where a group of girls are being held in a secret garden and they've escaped, and we're following between past and present as to what their time was like while they were in the garden, and then also how they came about escaping. Whilst this book didn't have the thriller aspect to it in a sense of like a really interesting plot twist, the concept of kind of being trapped and escaping and having to survive was quite similar. So I think had I not read a book so similar, I think I would have enjoyed this one a lot more. I personally did find this book a little bit repetitive towards the end because they're kind of going from place to place to place for such a long time. I did find it getting just, a little bit repetitive. This is a book that doesn't give you answers, but it's probably the only type of genre that I accept not giving you the answers. I like that it leaves you clueless. I like the fact that it leaves you to kind of interpret things the way that you want to. It had a lot of meaning to the story. It had a lot of wholesomeness in there. And we're also following a teenager who is experiencing life very differently to what any other teenager or person would experience. They have a lot of questions. They have a lot of things they don't understand. And watching them go through all of that, asking questions, not knowing what's going on, it was genuinely like you were the character. The way that it was written was so immersive. It was absolutely incredible. I did give the book 4 stars. I still really, really enjoyed this book. I did just find it a little bit repetitive towards the end. And like I said, it was a little bit similar to the other book that I've read, which is not the book's fault. I didn't know I was going to read 2 books very similar to each other, but either way, both had very unique aspects, and I really would recommend giving this book a go. And then the final book that I finished was The Chalkman, and this is a thriller. This is one of those thrillers as well that takes you between past and present, and I personally love it when thrillers do that. This is one of those stories where it's quite an in-depth plot, so I'm like, how do I word this without confusing anyone? It follows our main character called Ed, and back in the 80s he has a really good group of school friends. Sadly, a lot of them end up experiencing really tragic events quite early on in the story. And there is a particular teacher who they nickname the Chalkman because of the way that he looks and the way that he acts. And people speculate that this guy is a really creepy person. There are several unalivings that end up happening, and they kind of believe that it could be related to the Chalkman. Another eerie thing as well is the kids end up getting chalk for a birthday, and they all have a designated color, so they know who's writing messages on each other's driveways, and they kind of create their own little language and symbols to indicate what message they are trying to send to somebody. But one day they realize there are Chalkmen being drawn in white chalk, but no one was assigned the white chalk. And then in the present day, our main character ends up reuniting with a couple of his friends from the past and receive letters of chalk men, which is really worrying because this was something that supposedly ended back in the 80s. So it's kind of discovering what's going on, who's messing with their heads, what the heck is happening. As I've mentioned, one thing I loved about this book is kind of flicking between past and present. The chapters always leave you on cliffhangers, and then you're kind of reading about the present, and then you're really excited to go back to the bit about the past. I love that because it keeps you really immersed in the story. I also loved how nostalgic this book was as well. Where it's set in the 80s, it really gives you those childhood vibes and going out on bikes and hanging out with friends and all that sort of stuff. It's just really wholesome. This book was also so incredibly gripping. Oh my God, it really did hook you from start to finish. There were a few things that just didn't sit quite right with me. One thing was there was a really uncomfortable scene to read about in this book, and I ended up just skipping it because I was like, there's no way I can read that. Unfortunately for me though, the ending of this book just, I think, ruined the overall thoughts I had. It was a good story, don't get me wrong, and I really enjoyed, I guess, the twist of the perpetrator. The way that the ending was written, it made it seem like there was an additional plot twist, but actually it had no relevance to the story, I don't think. It was one of those endings where I had to Google to see if I was making things up or if I was right or wrong. And sometimes when that happens, it kind of bothers me a little bit because it's so confusing. you don't feel fully pleased with how it ended. Don't get me wrong, it was a very creepy ending, and if you do read it, you'll understand why actually it was really eerie and really interesting. But let's just say there's something that our main character does throughout actually the entire story, and it makes you think there's a reason for it, and actually I think it's just a bit odd. It wasn't confusion in the sense of like I didn't understand what was going on. It was more just I don't understand why this is included, if it doesn't have much relevance, or if there is relevance, it's not really explained very well, just that kind of thing. And that is my October wrap up complete. I actually can't believe we're going into November. This is crazy. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. As always, let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, because I would absolutely love to know your thoughts and feelings about all of these. Feel free to also let me know what your favorite book was in October, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.